Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal, paving your way to fantasy glory, acting as your lead blocker to fantasy excellence, making all your football-related fantasies come true. I'm your host, Nat the Truth Jones. With me, as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself, as we are ready to preview Week 9 prior to the Titans at Steelers game, which actually I'm maybe like a little more excited for than I thought I would be. If you had asked me this question a few weeks ago, I would have rolled my eyes and turned the other way. But I'm going to be watching this. I have some mild interest. How about you, Wolf?
Yeah, you got to be. After the Will Levis debut was an absolute smash last week. 4 touchdowns, 240 yards. Just looked like he belongs right away. All this talk about it's going to be a split quarterback thing, and we don't know what we're getting here. He really showed out. Some of those deep bombs, Hopkins was making play after play. So, yes, how much of it was Will Levis and how much of it was Hopkins? He definitely had a few moments that were a little bit sketchy, but overall, it's definitely intriguing to see how will he follow this up. Obviously, the Steelers have some decent fantasy juice as well between those receivers and Diontae Johnson and George Pickens. So we got a lot to look forward to. Oh, should we mention King Henry? I mean, come on now. You got the monster. December's coming. His yards per carry seems to just get better and better by the month as the season wears on. We've seen it time and time again. So, yeah, there's a lot of intrigue tonight. I'm excited to dive into this one.
I watched I was fooling around one night. I was by myself, everyone was in bed, and I Googled Derrick Henry highlights, and it took it all the way back to like high school. It was just like this 20-minute highlight thing of high school, college, and now pros. And it's just like, I don't know how you are, but when I watch stuff like that, I get such a jolt of dopamine. Like, yes. It was just like, it's incredible. And then I watched one on Calvin Johnson after that, and I was just like, this is too much.
I don't know if I've seen the Calvin Johnson high school. I've definitely seen the Derrick Henry highlight clip many, many times. I love that.
There was a Derrick Henry rule in his state, like specifically called the Derrick Henry rule, where like if they got up more than 21 or 21 points, he just couldn't play.
Oh my God!
Because it was just right. He was what an animal is right. Anyway, we digress. That was him against children. Although they did show a clip of him walking next to like a full-grown man, probably like my size in it, and he just dwarfed him when he was like 16 years old.
He's 15-year-old. Doesn't have his driver's license, but he's a tree.
He just looked like an adult. He was kind of like LeBron. Remember when LeBron came out of the pros and he just looked like he was like 30?
Yeah. Well, who do you think's taking this one, Truth? Titans got 3 points at home, at the Steelers, who are home. Over-under's a lowly 37. We'll see if that hits. But let's dive into what
I have. There's no reason that I think this, but I'm picking the Titans. And I think I'm probably going Titans and over just because it's such a low over-under. I know that probably the smart bet would be under, but I'm just going over. I'm pulling for maybe like a 2019, 22-17, something like that game. And so I'm going to go Titans getting 3 points and the over. How about you?
Man, so we got Kenny Pickett. He's 6-0 against the spread. I know. I was surprised to see that stat for sure. And then you look at the over and under. All the stats point to under here. Where
I know they do.
Tennessee's road games, they're 0-3 against the over. They're 2-3 total on the season. They're 1-4. And it's just bad. And then Pittsburgh's 1-6 against the over all season. So they have just been an abysmal offense that's not doing their part. For the most part. But now we do get a fully healthy Diontae Johnson's back. It is Derrick Henry starting to rumble type of season. And I'm intrigued by Will Levis. I mean, 26 fantasy points his first time out. I'm +5 ECR on him. I have the Pittsburgh defense in right now. And part of me is like, I kind of want to end this show early because I don't know. I don't know that Will Levis is a fluke. This will be a great game to test it out. I really think he's either going to flounder and flop and throw 3 picks and be horrible. And the defense would be great. But my gut is just saying, like, he's got a gunslinging mentality. He's going to throw this thing deep. Hopkins is going to make his plays. They're not good against wide receiver ones. The Steelers defense, they're horrendous against running backs. I mean, what do the Titans have good? At quality, Hopkins looked like Hopkins last week. And then you got Derrick Henry, an absolute steamroller. So I like the Titans with those 3 points especially. I think this is where Kenny Pickett definitely loses that trend against the spread. I actually think the Titans win outright. And, if they win outright, it probably is because there's more points going up on the boards than this over-under suggests. So I'm with you. I'm taking Titans and points. And I'm a little bit nervous about my Steelers defense tonight. I think I might have to make a late second swap here. while we're in the middle of the show.
Wow, I'm surprised you're going with me, but it makes me feel good about myself.
No, I listed out all these stats that I could find, and every single one's going against what I am feeling in my gut.
Right.
So hey, that means we're definitely wrong. I mean, let's be real here. But hey,
well, hey, speaking of wrong, just before we get into the pod, because I didn't record with you on Sunday, we didn't get to talk about the one thing from last week that I really just wanted to open the show with if we had recorded. And then we'll get into the actual show.
Yes.
Just give me your 30-second reaction to the Broncos giving up 70 points to the Dolphins and then a month later holding the Chiefs to 9.
I know. What an insane game. I know, yes, Mahomes was sick.
Okay. Like, still, we're talking about 9 points to the Chiefs. This is a team that gave up 70 a month ago.
I know. I don't know. I can't make sense of it. I really can't.
I just wanted to know your thoughts, because when I saw that, I was like, well, that's not real.
Yeah, it was a wild Sunday overall. This whole season, who knows what's going on. The script is a wild one this year, folks. I wish I could get my hands on it, because I'd be making a lot of money betting otherwise, because some crazy upsets. Yeah, that game was insanity. It had to have been, Mahomes was being sick. The weather was bad, but ultimately I was reading, actually, because I was very much questioning that too. There's a lot of rumblings that they've traded away a few on paper talents that were just really bad locker room presences in that defense. And now they've kind of rallied around a few of the younger guys. And they just, the last couple of weeks, the defense actually hasn't really been that 70 point.
They've been okay. You're talking about the Broncos.
Low point, but the last couple of weeks, they have been okay on defense. So yeah, conundrum.
Yeah, I don't think we can keep referring to them as the worst defense in the league.
No. If you remove that 70-point day, they still have some pretty bad efforts on paper, but not nearly that bad. The averages don't look nearly as bad when you remove them.
And I mean, and ho hum, all of a sudden the Broncos are 3-5. They're not out of it. They're not out of it.
Weird league, man.
They could be the second best team in that division. Anyway. All right. Let's get into quarterbacks. Let's get into news. That was my rant from last week, because like I said, the Wolf and I did not get to record together, unfortunately. If you are with us, and we got a little over 20 of you are here right now, thanks a lot. We've already got some mailbag questions. Give us a like, give us some love, give us a subscrition.
Last week I feel like we got up to 40, 50 live, bunch of questions. We got through it all. That's why we start a little bit early these days.
Yep.
So yeah, it'd be great. Share it on out, get some more people with us, and definitely get all those questions on in, get the mailbag piling up. Doesn't look too heavy yet, so get it going. Let's get some questions. Let's get some Thursday night football juice, baby. Let's have some fun. Let's go.
All right, here we go. Josh Allen, shoulder injury, arguably the number one quarterback in fantasy. We'll see. He's a full participant in Thursday's practice. He did miss Wednesday's practice, but he said if it had been a game situation, he would have been good to go. For whatever it's worth, I believe him. I don't think any Allen owners should be sweating this at all.
No, what a bookend. Just before we dive to the next note, you got that on Sunday night, Bengals versus Bills. Sunday morning, 9:30, you got Chiefs versus Dolphins. What a bookend of a day. That's going to be a fun Sunday. For sure.
I cannot wait.
Tuesday. We got obviously our Sunday show, and it's tough to not time it, but that's a really good game. I don't want to miss that game, so I don't know.
Here's a statement that 10 years ago you never would have thought that I would say to you. I can't wait for the Germany game.
Yeah. Guten Tag. Can't wait.
I really can't.
Stafford was absent for the Rams practice that was open to the media. He's as tough as they come. So if someone's going to gut out an injury like this with that thumb, it would be him. But, man, it doesn't seem like he's trending the right way with Brett Rippey in there. You got to downgrade Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. It would be really brutal to lose Stafford. Just makes such great throws and hits them in stride. That type of trust throws will not be there with Brett Rippon. So I'm very nervous about that one.
Before not to correct you, but it's Brett Rippon. I believe he's related to Mark Rippon, former Super Bowl champion from the Washington former football team. Unless I'm very much mistaken, but I am going to cut you off. And Chillard has sent us $10 real quick. Wolfie, you're the man. Number one, give me two guys who are going to score anytime touchdowns in this Pitt Tennessee game. Two, check your texts. I need some fantasy trade advice.
My guy, Chillard, I'm so sorry, and I don't want you to feel like you have to super chat me to get a hold of you. You called me when I was at school. Willard called me, and I was in the middle of teaching. And it's one of those things where you see it, and you're like, okay, I'll hit him back at lunchtime or whatever. But as soon as you hit ignore and the notification's not there anymore, I completely forgot until I just saw this right now. So Chillard, I'll definitely hit you up. We'll figure this trade situation out. for sure, let me know. I mean, feel free to comment it in there. If we have extra time tonight, we'll certainly go over it here. But yeah, we'll chat through your issues here for sure. Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Who do you think on anytime touchdowns? I mean, the easy bet's Henry. I think he's absolutely going to hit the end zone tonight. I mean, I really like Hopkins as well.
What about Hopkins, Henry?
Yeah, Hopkins, Henry seems like a really nice bet. There is, if you do prize picks too, you can get a Diontae Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown as one of your prize picks. Use code RSJ if you sign up there if you haven't used it before. I like that combo there. It's just one of them has to score for you to hit on that end of the bet. Diontae Johnson, I saw this tweet today. He has not scored a touchdown. Do you know who the last quarterback was to throw a touchdown to Diontae Johnson?
No. Who was the guy that was it's not Roethlisberger, right?
It is, yeah, Big Ben. That's literally the last time he caught a touchdown was from Big Ben, which is nuts. So it's been a long time since Diontae Johnson got the end zone. Maybe it'll be tonight, but I love Henry. I know that's the easy one. That's simple. So in terms of like a Hail Mary, I don't know. There's not a ton of like Hail Marys on these.
He's not asking for a Hail Mary here. He's just asking for two guys.
Guns. Yeah, so I love the two Titans guys. I think they score. Part of me thinks Will Levis scores a rushing touchdown, and maybe you throw a little sprinkle on first touchdown Will Levis like rushing. I bet the odds on that are phenomenal. I don't like either of the Steelers running backs at all. I don't hate either of the wide receivers there though. I hate the running backs to score. I do like Henry Hopkins the most. But I like a little sprinkle on a Will Levis rushing touchdown tonight. Right. What do you think, Truth? You got any leanings for scores tonight?
Well, I mean, I told you, I'm not looking for long shots here. If he wants two guys who are going to score anytime touchdowns, I would lean to Hopkins Henry. I know it's not sexy. Well, it is sexy, but I know it's not like sexy gambling wise necessarily. But
right.
If gun to my head and you said two guys that are going to score, those would be the first guys that come to mind for me.
Yeah, I agree. And Chillard's tossing out a couple here. Levis, 11.5 rushing yards. That is definitely juicy. I believe he had 19 last week, if I'm not mistaken. I know he averaged over 20 in college. And Tucci is junior year. He was really mobile all over the place. He can get going. And there was comparisons to Josh Allen for a reason. The howitzer arm, the mobility. He's certainly not Josh Allen. I'm not saying that, but he has those type of traits. So I'd like that line a lot. 11.5. I think that's solid. I do like just the big guy, leaping over the line and kind of diving in. I think at either anytime touchdown for rushing for him, or if you want to get risky, a little $5 sprinkle, whatever you want to toss on, like first touchdown score, I could see him marching down and Will Levis capping off the drive there. I think is an interesting thing. And he's asking Chillard as probably going to follow up. He gave us a $10 super chat. We got to keep kind of following up with what he's got. Thank you again for your generosity here. I personally, I see what you're saying here too. Those moonball throws are definitely sketchy. We wrote about him on the website, and our guy Duck, he's from Kentucky, loves watch everything from Levis, and he kind of broke down a lot of the strengths, the things you love, the moon balls, the ability to get it deep, let his receivers make plays. We saw that, but there was also a number of high concerning throws, and that is what I'm a little bit worried. And I agree that offensive pass interference where we pushed off on it. I am a little bit nervous. But he does have that moxie factor too. Like he was just slinging it. Everybody was rallying around him too. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, I don't know if you were here, Chiller, when we first kicked off. It's going to go one of two ways. Like he's just going to continue this, and he's just immediately, you got to start him every week moving forward, or he flops on his face and this defense gets after him. They don't have a great D line. I could see like a 3-pick just come crashing back to earth. I don't see a middle ground where it's like a 190, 200 yard, like 2 touchdown, 1 interception. It's gonna be all or nothing. I'm intrigued though. I really am. What are your thoughts on Will Levis?
I feel exactly the same way that you do. And I even had this exact conversation with somebody when my kid was at swim practice. I was talking with another dad, and he was asking me because he knows I'm on the podcast and knows that I'm know a lot about fantasy and am well connected with people who know even more than me. He was asking me all about Will Levis, and I was just like, I'd take a flyer, but like if he never plays another good football game in the NFL again, I wouldn't be that shocked by that either. So like it's going to be exciting to find out tonight. I agree with you completely. I think he's either going to do really well or really badly.
I do lean, it's so easy to say that. I do lean towards him being good. I honestly do. I just eyeball-wise, something popped about him. He was sizzling last week. I have him +4 ECR at quarterback 15. So I am higher on than the experts. I have him above Jordan Love, Daniel Jones. There's some of these guys if you're going to those depths, and this week there's a lot of bye weeks that people are forced to go to these depths. Why not toss him in here? It's not a scary defense. They're giving up top 10 terms of points to quarterbacks. They're giving top 5 to wide receiver ones, top 3 to running backs in general. It's not a great Pittsburgh defense right now. I could see Will Levis. I love that rushing line you tossed out there, Chillin. I could see him running in a touchdown, throwing a couple more. It's a good spot. They're on the road, so that's also going to be really intriguing. How does he react to a hostile Thursday night football Pittsburgh audience? It's very intriguing. That's why I'm just excited for this game in general. It really comes down to Will Levis and how is he going to follow this game up. I do lean more towards he's for real than he's a bust, but we're going to find out tonight. At least a nice data point on that. So I can't wait. It's a really intriguing storyline.
All right, getting back to the news. Kyler Murray.
We did actually, Truth, before we do that, we got one more super chat from Eli. Thank you guys so much kicking off with some generosity tonight. It means the world. Thank you guys so much. We're talking about getting Truth a new laptop over there. This is we have the CJ laptop fund. We got the Truth laptop fund. These things really, really do help, though. You guys, it goes such a long way. So thank you guys so much. What do we got for Eli here?
It says, yo, folks, still waiting on Fields, Minshew, Young, Jones. And a flex for the buys, Aaron Jones, Jeff Wilson Jr., Charbonnet, and Khalil Shakur.
We got a tricky situation to sift out through here. Yeah. In terms of the quarterback, I do lean Minshew here. Just the highest floor for sure. I know the ceiling feels pretty capped on the year. I don't trust Bryce Young. He really hasn't put anything together fantasy-wise. At least Minshew, you know that the Colts – we're going to talk about some of these stats actually in our higher, lower Hail Mary, so I might as well just dive into them right now. The Colts, because they play at such a fast pace, top 3 in terms of pace, top 3 right now in terms of total play runs, they are right now averaging matchups with over – they're number 1 right now in terms of their games having 136.6 combined snaps. So anybody facing them plus them, they're just running a ton of plays. 54.3 on average points scored in Colts games right now this season. That's only behind Miami. So it's a shootout. There's play fest. Tons of stuff's being run every single week. The issue is against the Panthers, they are such a bad run defense that they've given up, actually, the Panthers, the most touchdowns in the league, but over 60% of those are rushing touchdowns because they're so bad against the run. So you're hoping at that point the variance of like a 1 week just kind of swings and Minshew runs one in, or he has a day. We saw it against Cleveland. He had a 28-point day against a really good Cleveland defense. Otherwise, the quarterback 3. Other than that, in his starts, he's been vastly mediocre, 16, 13. But I mean, we're talking about Daniel Jones, who's going to get bombarded by I know it's not even a great Raiders defense, but Max Crosby alone is probably going to sack him 5 times. And who knows if that neck thing flares up. He's got no Darren Waller. I can't trust Daniel Jones till I at least see a week from him. And Bryce Young, what's he done that warrants any type of consideration? Anyways, at least we have one spike week from Minshew, plus these game environments that produce points, even though most of them have been going to the running backs, those big games. At least we know there's a chance that Minshew could spike, and we know we're probably going to get a good game environment either way, because that's just how all those games have been for the Colts. So I'm leaning Minshew there for quarterback. Do you have any difference in opinion there, Truth?
I really don't. I can't think of a really good reason to like get behind Bryce Young or anything like that here. And Daniel Jones, I'm just repeating what you would say, but yeah, I would lean Minshew.
Yeah, flex wise, this is tough. I mean, to me, it actually comes down to the bookends here of Aaron Jones or Khalil Shakir. I love Charbonnet. I think he's one of the best handcuffs in fantasy football. 56% of the snaps last week. It's trending the right way for the kid. He intrigues me a little bit too. It can't be Jeff Wilson. He just 19 snaps to him, 19 to Sullivan Ahmed. We know Raheem is the main guy there. You're really just banking on a touchdown against a good Chiefs defense that I don't think is going to happen. I lean Aaron Jones just because but then he's limited again in practice. He's wearing the non-contact jersey, and the snap share has been so sketchy. I do really like Khalil Shakir this week. He's going to be – Eli's kind of making me give away my higher, lower Hail Marys before we even hit.
I know we've dove into that already with Will Levis and all this. Like we probably get, by the time we get there, we're gonna have hit like 40% of these guys.
I know. And then we have the clip that we have to cut for YouTube, so I still have to repeat it. So you guys will have to deal with me staying in this tank again. But I really like Khalil Shakir. After They knocked out Dawson Knox. He was out of the lineup probably. I don't know if he's officially on the IR yet, but he's expected to miss at least 3 weeks. Shakir, they ran 3 wide receiver sets at nearly 100% clip, and Shakir was in there for 72% of the routes. He saw 6 targets, which was 15% share, caught a team high 92 yards, and just looked really good, consistent, moving the chains. And he plays the slot nearly exclusively, though the Bengals allow the 3rd highest receiving percentage to slot receivers right now. I like Shakir a lot. I'm right now debating whether I play Khalil Shakir or Tank Dell, if that kind of helps you, Eli, know the benchmark and what I'm measuring here. And you guys know Tank Dell is the guy I'll never bench. And lately, these last couple of weeks, it's been rough for him. So I have Josh Allen. I'm considering stacking up Shakir and Josh Allen on Sunday Night Football. So honestly, he doesn't mention if it's full PPR by any chance, because full PPR does help Shakir's case quite a bit. He's not a big touchdown threat. He's going to rack up some catches. If this is full PPR, I feel great. Half PPR, I still feel pretty good. Standard leagues, you got to just roll Jones and hope for the yardage here. Oh, man. After all the analysis, I think I'm leaning Aaron Jones for now. But if his health isn't getting better, if he's not like practicing full or off the injury report by the weekend, because he's one of those guys, you bench him and then boom, you have that 30-point day and he's back. It's not a overly threatening matchup, but I'm not super high on Jones either. I just have a hard time like getting it out of my mouth that I would bench Aaron Jones for Khalil Shakir. You know what I mean? That's just, it doesn't feel right. So I feel like I'd have to go Aaron Jones here. But if he's limited heading into the weekend, and it's one of those sketchy situations where we saw A.J. Dillon play 60% of snaps just 2 weeks ago, then yeah, maybe you got to just go, Shakir. But I'm leaning Aaron Jones here. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. I'm not rolling out unless like I know he's out or doubtful or whatever. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. All right. Eli, thank you again so much for the super chats, for the support, guys. As we go back in the news, you want to hit the next one, True, so I can put out. We need our guy Campanelli here, and getting him moderating the conversation. So let me toss it out there for him.
So Kyler Murray, who I picked up on IR last week, he's actually been removed from the Week 9 injury report by the Cardinals, but it's still completely unclear what's going to happen with him. Basically, he is able to go at this point. Like on paper, the guy is able to go. That doesn't mean he's going to roll out this week. The ultimate play, and I like this, is going to be to throw Clayton Tune to the Wolves against the Browns' elite defense, and maybe let Murray make a debut in Week 10. So if you want to take a stab at Clayton Tune coming up this week, you would be the only person on the planet looking to make that particular play. Odds are smart money is on Kyler Murray probably coming back week 10, which is interesting in itself because I wasn't even sure he was going to play this year. We said it last week. I wrote an article about it. If you can get him on waivers, you should. The guy, when he plays, he's a bona fide starter and so, with upside. Like he's someone who every now and then finishes overall quarterback 1, stuff like that. Pick him up if he's there.
Scoff at me all you want, Truth, but losing Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers to Achilles tears on my dynasty team, I think I'm actually rolling out Clayton Tune in my super flex.
I love that for you. I love that.
Which is terrifying. Daniel Jones is my other quarterback, so my dynasty team has quickly crumbled. It's damn freaking good. We don't have time to go on how good my team is, and I have those 2 veterans ready to bookend it. Brutal. Deshaun Watson practiced on Thursday. Looked like he was actually throwing the ball pretty solid in the videos I saw. And he said, quote, throwing the rock doesn't mean I'm going to be out there this week, but ultimately it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, PJ Walker's not the worst backup, and he's kept Amari Cooper afloat, but it would be better to have Watson at full health at least out there for sure.
Maybe.
I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Daniel Jones, neck injury. He was a full participant in Thursday's practice. Great.
If you look at the QB landscape, we're going to talk about it in higher, lower Hail Mary, though. Like the kind of big 8, and then there's nobody. So Daniel Jones against a bad Raiders defense, honestly, there's going to be consideration this week. I'd rather have Minshew like we talked about with that other super chat. But yeah, it's a really ugly week at quarterback.
This is why you pick up Kyler Murray if you can.
Yeah, pick him up, get him ready. If he starts this week, I mean, maybe you have to play Kyler Murray. We'll see. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to be benched for Aiden O'Connell, and a team source, according to Ian Rappaport, saying it's because he's our best quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. Garoppolo, I mean, he has not looked good, so I do not even doubt this. I actually am very intrigued to see what O'Connell does. I love the tape he put on the preseason. He had an okay start. He had them in contention to win that game when he was facing the Chargers earlier this season. In his starts, we did see a whopping 11 targets, 8 catches, and 81 yards. Not for a receiver, for Josh Jacobs, who, of course, I'm facing this week. Just perfect timing. Great. 58 yards and a touchdown as well on the ground. So he did well. Meanwhile, we did see 8 for 75 for Adams, double-digit targets for him. But Myers did really go take a back seat. 2 catches for 33 yards. So he took a big tumble in my rankings. Jacoby Myers, he's been playing very, very well with Jimmy Garoppolo. Whereas that one Aiden O'Connell start, he just hammered Adams, hammered Jacobs. We'll see. It's a whole different team, though. Obviously, firing Josh McDaniels, who knows what this is going to look like. But I imagine, a player coming in to coach, essentially, Antonio Pierce, he's going to want to feed his dudes, and that's going to be Adams and Jacobs. I expect them to have some pretty big days.
Moving on to running backs, a guy I traded last week, Raheem Mostert, said he's ready to go when he was asked about his Week 9 availability against the Chiefs, that big Germany game that we were talking about. He basically popped up on the injury report on Wednesday with some sort of ankle injury. He referred to it as a hiccup, and he does not expect it to bother him much this week. So expect him to play. And, I mean, obviously, this is a huge matchup, and it's a game that figures to see quite a few points scored. So if you got Mostert, I figure you're rolling him out.
Yeah, and you got St. Brown for Mostert, is that right?
I did. And St. Brown looked good last week. I mean,
that's a good deal.
My team lost, but I got what I was looking for. I got a target hog, and he's a target
Especially
hog.
In the playoffs hit. If Achan's back, I think that's a great deal for you. Jonathan Taylor, not on the Colts injury report, a lot of people questioning you. First half, he had 12 carries, 95 yards. 11 of them were in the first half. People were wondering what was going on in that second half. And a lot of people speculating that Jonathan Taylor must have been hurt. He says no, he's off the injury report, so I guess not. They're talking about it was just a hot hand situation. Apparently Moss had a hotter hand, but Jonathan Taylor was averaging almost 9 yards a pop. I don't know what you have to do to get a hotter hand than that. It was great. It was a beautiful performance from him. Man, if he can just separate and get like 70% of the work one of these days, he's going to be a beast. Because the thing is that Moss does look good. Like we have to look at this. Just say, good. Moss looks good. So why would they do that? I don't know. They probably won't. It's just so annoying and frustrating for Taylor owners because he looks really, really good too. They just like to give Moss a touchdown. It's just so frustrating.
Speaking of frustrating, Dameon Pierce, ankle injury, did not practice on Thursday. That's 2 in a row, and it's looking like maybe he's not going to be suiting up for Week 9. Obviously, we still got Friday to look forward to. Beat writer Aaron Wilson says the team is contemplating having him miss a game to allow his ankle to heal up. I mean, as far as I know, the guy's been fairly healthy all year. And, because I wrote about Devin Singletary, the guy who figures to get a pretty good workload in Pierce's absence, even when completely healthy, Pierce is running for less than 3 yards a clip. So, yeah, let him heal up all you want. At this point, I'd take a crapshoot with Singletary over him.
He's still only 26% rostered, Devin Singletary. There is a very real chance Pierce
he could be the starter for the rest of the year.
It's a tough debut. The Buccaneers are a bottom 6 matchup for running backs. But shoot, if he comes in there and looks even half decent, there's a real chance he takes these reins completely. There was just 2 weeks ago, he outsnapped him anyways, and he has consistently played better. He hasn't even played that well. It's not a high bar to ascend, but
that's the thing. It's like you can ding him if he doesn't have a great game against the Bucs, but if the guy runs for like 3.2 a carry, that's better than Pierce is running like any game this season.
Which is awful. Yeah.
Right. It's terrible.
It's so insane. So definitely at least at 26% rostered. If you're watching this right now, I mean, come on, go Devin Singletary. At minimum, a viable bench stash, and he might be seeing 20 touches this weekend. So, yeah, definitely should be on fantasy benches at minimum, Devin Singletary. Amari DeMarcado, a popular pickup these last couple of weeks. He has not practiced in back-to-back days. He saw 21 touches last week, and that might have added up here. Looking really questionable. They called up Tony Jones from the practice squad. It doesn't look great for DeMarcado. We'll certainly have to track this. I don't mind the guy, but against a really bad matchup here against a stout Cleveland defense, you got to be really cautious, especially whether he plays, whether it's Ingram filling in. You really don't want any of these guys. Let's be real.
All right, moving on to wide receivers. I love this one. Drake London was not, and I'm reading the copy directly, he was not spotted at Thursday's practice. I love that because it leaves an air of mystery, like maybe he was there, but we just didn't spot him.
Yeah, he's hiding behind like the Gatorade.
He's like Alan Hearns hiding behind a potted plant.
Yeah, exactly.
So unless he gets in a limited practice on Friday, we're not going to see him this week. It seems like you're probably not going to see him. If he's unable to go, obviously Jonnu Smith, Bijan Robinson, they would benefit from that. Van Jefferson could even be on the radar. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I do have a sneak peek. Kyle Pitts is one of my lowers of the week. I might
Oh, wow.
have to adjust that.
Nope.
Who knows? They probably feature
Nope.
like Pruitt or some shit.
Don't do
Like,
that. Don't be foolish.
Daryl Hodge would see 15 targets and Kyle Pitts would see 3. So you know what? Maybe I don't have to adjust it at all. Arthur Smith is a complete douchebag. Josh Palmer did not practice on Thursday. This has kind of been the trend. There was a tweet that just it shouldn't make me laugh. It's disturbed that it does. But somebody tweeted out when Palmer went out and he went to the medical tent, one of the Chargers beat reporter goes, "Oh God, just heard a huge scream from the blue medical tent." It's just like, and then he comes back and plays the game, and it's like this huge scream from the medical tent, like it's so dramatic. And then he came back in the game, so who knows exactly what's going. The reason we did want to include this was one, Palmer has been a very viable, steady wide receiver, 3+ in fantasies. Clearly the wide receiver 2, one of the better passing games, but you got the Jets this week. Terrible matchup for wide receivers. And it's also worth maybe stashing Quentin Johnson, who had some nice plays on that Sunday Night Football game last week. Still only 19% rostered. If he's out there in your league, I don't know that you start. Other than Keenan Allen, I really don't want any receiver from the Chargers in my lineup against the Jets. It's, again, such a good secondary. But ultimately, this could give Quentin Johnson a path to more playing time. A few more plays get made. He's so good after the catch, Quentin Johnson. I really just hope they start using him the right way. We'll see.
All right, Michael Wilson closing out the wide receivers. He did not practice Thursday. Unclear if he did not practice or they just didn't spot him. But Michael Wilson, the Cardinals, I'm going to beat that joke into the ground. Obviously, Wilson and DeMarcado have been listed as DMPs for each of the first 2 practices. Honestly, as much as I'd like to say that this is going to affect things, I was a brief owner of Wilson, wrote an article about him too. He just hasn't been doing much, so this probably is not affecting anyone's fantasy team this week.
No, but he does. As soon as Murray comes back, I am intrigued to see what the kid does because you wrote about him and you wrote about him well. He's got a 3-layer skill set. He can get it done in the red zone. He can get it done deep. He can do it after the catch. He just hasn't had any quarterback play to really back it up. So I do think he makes a worthwhile stash for now, though, while we wait for Kyler Murray to come back. Moving on to tight ends to wrap things up. We had very few wide receiver notes this week, and we have very few tight ends. So I'll just rip these both real quick, and we can get to higher, lower, Hail Mary. Gerald Everett did practice. It's the number 1 matchup for tight ends against the Jets. They're so good out wide. They give up a ton of targets to both tight ends and running backs because of how locked down they are on wide receivers. So Gerald Everett might be an intriguing stream, but you'd have to wait till Monday Night Football. If he sits, though, Donald Parham, 6'8" monster, could be an actual viable streamer as well. Darren Waller also will not play this week. And they were kind of saying it might be a little bit of an injury here in terms of a multi-week thing. They haven't moved him to IR yet. Bellinger, a touchdown-dependent wider tight end 2 here, maybe. But there's some higher, lower Hail Marys we're about to get to that I'd much rather play in his stead instead of Daniel Bellinger. That's for sure.
So two comments before we get into the higher, lower Hail Mary on Darren Waller. First of all, I would have won my game last week if not for Darren Waller. So thanks for that, man. One.
Did you know he led the? Am I gonna? I don't want to take their thunder here, but are you going to talk about how he led the team in receiving last week
with 4 yards?
Yes, 1 catch, 4 yards was the.
No, that was part of what I was going to say. You got your alpha wide receiver 1, Darren Waller, hauling in 4 yards, outperforming the rest of the team. I believe what was their combined yards? I think 8 yards combined, maybe
-9. Because if you,
I think it was -8 because I feel I could be wrong, but anyway, yeah. I mean, so Waller with a big chunk of that. So that's impressive in itself. And by the way, that guy DeVito, I would have done just as well. They were not going to let that guy throw anything. It didn't matter if it was a screen pass, nothing. They were just like, you are not throwing this football.
It was bad.
Anyway, so that's the first thing. If Waller had literally done anything, or if I'd started my backup, I would have won. Second thing, I traded Waller this week.
What'd you get?
Got rid of him. I traded him straight up for Evan McBride.
Evan? Oh, you mean Trey McBride?
Yeah, Trey McBride. Sorry.
Yeah, yes. I think that's a good deal, honestly. You have to deal with that headache anymore, that offense.
The guy I traded him to has Mark Andrews, so he's going to stash Waller on the IR and hope he can flip him for a trade. And, at least I got maybe a shot in the dark, really good tight end. So I feel okay about it.
I'm a huge trade. We're going to talk about Trey McBride in a little bit. So
okay. I said Evan McBride because my other tight end's Evan Ingram. Start this one without me. I'll be right back.
All righty. So, folks, we're going to move on to the higher, lower Hail Mary segment of the show. As we do, please do consider that thumbs up, the shares, likes, retweets. Keep getting the mailbag filled. We'd love to answer all your questions. This will take about 20 minutes or so, as it typically does, to rip through all my higher, lower Hail Marys so you know who to start, stream, and sit in week 9. But please do consider hitting that thumbs up button, helping us grow. And thanks again to all you that have super chat. If you need to get in and out, please do toss a super chat. We'll be happy to let you cut the line, hit your question right away. But otherwise, we'll get to all the rest in a minute. Thank you again so much for being here. We're so excited to preview this Thursday night game. QB, higher, lower, Hail Mary. Let's dive in. You got your Big 8. I'm looking at the rankings here. And if you have one of the Big 8, you can kind of rest easy, breathe deep. In Big 8, I mean Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Next tier, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Tua. Dak has jumped into that tier, and Justin Herbert. And we look at Dak, man, back-to-back top 3 quarterback performances, QB1, QB3, 25 and 29 points. They're starting to let him air it out, and I'm happy to see it. It's definitely brought a quality quarterback back into the fray. But after that, from quarterback 9 on, it is just a complete and utter crap fest. So if you do not have one of those 9, I'm hoping to help you sift through that. And Derek Carr is the one I am higher on, +2 ECR for Derek Carr here at quarterback 9. He's got 300-plus passing yards in 3 straight games. In fact, the Saints are number 1 in passing over their last 3 games, averaging 328.7 passing yards in that span. He hasn't had any huge blow-ups, Derek Carr, in that span, 17, 18, and 18. A nice floor. You can't discount that right now. And last week could have been that blow-up game had he just barely, Chris Olave, really the one at fault here, dropped a long TD bomb, which probably would have propelled both of them into just top 12 numbers easily. And Derek Carr himself would have had 20-plus points for sure for the first time. He also got vultured by Taysom Hill twice last week, so a little bit of more touchdown luck for him. It could go a long way here. So Chicago also ranking 5th most in points allowed to the quarterback position, 4th most in scheduled passing points allowed. That's all Derek Carr does. I really, really like Derek Carr as my higher quarterback after, again, that bottom 9. Drew, do you want me to rip the next couple while you kind of regain your bearings?
I know exactly what's up. I could see Carr hitting Kamara many times. Lower, CJ Stroud against Tampa Bay. You got him at QB 11. That's 2 below the experts. Also, Jordan Love. I really agree on this one. Jordan Love, you have at 16. The experts have him at 13. Make your case.
Yeah, middling matchup for Stroud. In fact, it's towards the top half league, 11th most points allowed to quarterbacks against the Bucs this week. But they, had faced some strong quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins only 16, Fields 14, Hurts 19. I mean, 19 is a pretty good day, but for Jalen Hurts, that's a bad effort. They did get bombed by Josh Allen and Jared Goff over their last 3 games, but schedule adjusted, they're middle of the pack right now as a matchup, and Stroud himself has been very, very mediocre. He smashed those first 4 games, and since then, 14, 15, and 13 fantasy points. Very, very underwhelming. He's been under 200 yards in 2 of his past 3 games. 2 straight, really. Just a very mundane quarterback right now. I do believe him in Stroud. I think he's certainly going to turn this around at some point. But right now, I want him on my bench if I can possibly have it. But again, it's such an ugly week that he's still my quarterback 11. He's still a starter in my rankings. I'm just that much lower. A little bit lower. I'd rather have Derek Carr, for example. And then Jordan Love, quarterback 16. He's just been flat out bad. He has the best protection right now in the NFL, minus 8.5% pressure rate, according to fantasy points data. But when not pressured, only Kenny Pickett has a lower completion rate. He has 7 interceptions. That's the most Jordan Love in the NFL. His 6.28 yards per attempt while protected. 3rd lowest. His 61% completion percentage while protected. The 2nd lowest. He just is not getting it done even with a clean pocket. And that's just usually the sign of a bad quarterback. He's been okay fantasy-wise. He's got 16 points back-to-back. But he's just been so bad real life-wise. And the Rams, I know they just got bombed last week, but other than that, last week, they've been a pretty stout defense against quarterbacks. I don't like Jordan Love. I don't want him in my lineups. I'd rather, again, have Derek Carr or find another streamer.
Agree. We do have a super chat, but we're going to finish up the Hail Mary first, and then we'll hit that, I promise. Hail Mary, we talked about Gardner Minshew earlier, actually, extensively in one of the questions. He's only 23% owned. He's at Carolina. And also, as a kind of asterisk to this, also the Wolf is suggesting, see if Baker Mayfield is still out there. He's only 41% owned, and 3 of his last 4 games have actually been pretty darn good.
Yeah, so Gardner Minshew we talked about, but let's rehash the fact that he's facing a Carolina defense that's allowed the most touchdowns total in the league. so many of them are rushing because they're such a bad rush defense. And yeah, with two good running backs in terms of Jonathan Taylor and the third leading rusher in the NFL right now, Zach Moss. Still can't believe those words coming out of my mouth. But you just never know when the variance will strike, when it might turn into a Minshew rushing touchdown, where they'll get into the red zone and Minshew might just pop one real quick to Josh Downs instead of running it in. It could happen any given week. So given that it's a soft defense overall, despite being far more soft against the run, you could just see that variance shifting for 1 week. And they do have the 7th highest implied team total of the slate. It's just a really bad even. And we mentioned too that the Colts are just overall 136.6 combined snaps per game and 54.3 points scored per game totals. So we're getting a lot of plays run and a lot of shootouts. The 136 snaps, that's highest in the NFL, and those points, 54.3, are second behind only Miami in terms of combined totals. So lots of plays, lots of shootouts in these Colts games. And then Baker Mayfield, quarterback 7, quarterback 11, quarterback 10 in 3 of his last 4 games. Had 1 dud mixed in there, but that's really solid. Houston is allowing the second best completion percentage for quarterbacks, and schedule adjusted points, the 12th best matchup as well for quarterbacks too. So Baker, a lot of people dropping him out there. He's got some really quality weeks. He's got great weapons to throw to. Definitely could be a streamer that you need.
All right, let's hit the super chat before we get on to running backs.
Yeah.
RM threw us $5. He said, full
Thanks
PPR,
so
10 team for a flex spot. Gabe Davis, Taysom Hill, Jahan Dotson, JSN, Zach Moss, Darrell Henderson.
Oh, man. This is like a really, really interesting flex spot of a lot of just boom bust guys. So This is a really tough one to get right for you, RM. I love Gabe Davis, though. Prime time. We're going to talk about him when we get to wide receiver, higher, lower, Hail Mary. And shocker, he's on my higher list this week. So, yeah, I really, really like Gabe Davis. Coming off the highest target share he's seen, the highest reception share he's seen, 12 targets, 9 catches. And that's really what has me feeling decent about him is the fact that they were giving him some of those layup designs after the catch, just letting him do some things, getting him active, getting him part of the game plan. They made that a real part of that script on Thursday night last week. It's not a guarantee they do that every week, but first game without Knox to go up pace, go up tempo, run exclusively 3 wide receiver sets, and to see Davis really thrived and used in a different manner than we had seen all year. I don't discount that. So of all these options, honestly, Taysom Hill's the next closest for me because he has just been so rock steady. We're going to talk about him too, RM, in higher, lower, Hail Mary. So if you hear some things that you like better about Taysom Hill, I would say you can fire him up too. He's the tight end 3 across his last 3 games. Actually, no, tight end 2. The second best tight end in fantasy behind only Travis Kelce in his last 3 games. So I really do like Taysom Hill a lot too. I hate double flex tight ends, certainly in a 10-teamer as well. It just feels like you don't have to do that. But I lean Gabe Davis slightly. Taysom Hill is shockingly my second favorite here. They're all just so many interesting boom bust guys. Zach Moss continues. We just talked about third and rushing right now. He's been so damn good too. But it just feels like a matter of when, not if, that Jonathan Taylor just takes over that backfield, and it could be this week. I'm leaning Gabe Davis is probably my favorite here, Truth. Did any of these options stand out to you more than him?
No, I'd also go Davis, but I mean, there's no telling which of these guys is going to end up having the big game because, 4 of them are tempting, so
they're all tempting. Really, they all are. Maybe JSN is the only one that I don't love here, and even he just scored a touchdown last week again.
I mean, I don't love Dotson either, but I mean, it's full PPR. I would lean Davis.
Dotson did have 10 targets last week and 8 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. So he had his blow-up game. Was that a welcome to the season and he continues to go? Maybe. Davis has a far better track record on the year than Dotson has legitimately one good effort, whereas Davis has had over half of his games. I mean, I was actually making a comparison of Calvin Ridley and Gabe Davis. They have the same amount of top 12 weeks. Gabe Davis has 3 more top 24 weeks and is averaging more fantasy points per game. So everybody thinking that you got to just slam Calvin Ridley into your lineups. Gabe Davis has actually been better this year in terms of consistency and in terms of points per game.
Does anyone?
I really like him. I do. And I know when he disappears hard on you. So if he misses, it's going to hurt.
Are there these Calvin Ridley stands that are out there demanding that he needs to be in the lineup no matter what still? Because I mean, I feel like that
I don't think so. Not at this point. No. I lean Gabe Davis, though. He was the knee-jerk reaction. He's the statistical reaction for me. I lean Gabe Davis, RM. Thank you so much for the support. We really do appreciate it.
Doesn't Russell Wilson have better stats than Pat Mahomes?
He does. He does. More touchdowns, higher passer rating. It's crazy.
I'm just saying, like, these things don't always shake out the way we think they're going to.
No, they don't.
Running backs, you got a couple. Kareem Hunt going against the Cardinals. You like him at 17. That's a whopping 8 spots above the experts. You also like Brian Robinson against New England. I hope you're wrong because I picked up the Patriots defense just to go against these chumps. You got him at running back 19, 4 above the experts.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt, he gets so disrespected. Again, 8 spots above the ECR, and yet his last 3 weeks, even with Jerome fully healthy for 2 of those weeks, the running back 10, the running back 11, the running back 16, 15, 15, and then 13 points. He scored a touchdown in every single one of those weeks, though, and that's because he's getting the most valuable touches you can ask for in a backfield, the touchdowns and the receptions. He's locked into that role right now, and now he gets that role against an Arizona team, giving up the 3rd most points to backs, consistently getting bludgeoned on the ground. Huge fan of Kareem Hunt, the role he has. He just looks like he's got a little bit more juice than he had last year, too, in a great matchup. Big fan of Kareem Hunt. And then, Brian Robinson, it's more of a game flow argument. There's not a ton of things to honestly love about his role right now. In positive scripts, though, he gets fed. And I think this is going to be one of the few times we actually see them in a positive script because the Patriots just flat out suck. And then they've lost their best offensive player right now, and Kendrick Bourne, which, again, tells you how bad they've just been all year. So I imagine that the Commanders could build a lead, try to bleed the clock out. We haven't seen a ceiling game from Brian Robinson, honestly, since Denver, but he's still been hovering in that running back 2, top 24 range, 13, 8, 9. Again, nothing inspiring, but Chris Rodriguez not getting any carries last week has me feeling a little bit better about Brian Robinson. And then the Patriots, the last 3 weeks, 17, 17, and 11 points surrendered to the top running backs across teams. I have a feeling that Brian Robinson gets in the end zone twice. It's more of like a gut feeling.
Oh, God, I hope you're so wrong about that. Jesus.
I know your defense wouldn't like that. And they'll rack up some sacks, too. I thought about picking up the Patriots. Truth, I ended up going with the Steelers instead tonight. So we'll see how that plays out.
The Steelers, who we both just picked to lose?
I know. I know. I don't know what I'm even thinking.
What are you doing?
I know. But, I just think both these guys ranked as like fringe top RB2s are very solid RB2s. In particular, Kareem Hunt. I don't understand how he's ranked as the running back 25. Well, he's been a top 13 guy for 3 straight weeks. It makes no sense to me.
You're all over the place with your Brian Robinson, 2 touchdowns, and then going with the Steelers defense, who we both picked against in the opening of this program. And we picked the over. So we think there's going to be a bunch of points scored.
I know. Yeah. That's what I said at the beginning of the program. I kind of want to go backwards and pick up a new defense. So I might have to do that live. We'll see.
You better do it in the next 40 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Aaron Jones, we're lower now. Aaron Jones against the Rams. We talked about him a little bit because he was in a super chat we got. We do have another super chat, but we're waiting. We're going to finish this running back block, and then we'll get to you, I promise. Plenty of time before kickoff, so don't panic. Aaron Jones against the Rams, 24. You like him. The experts like him up at 20. Ramondre, the other side of that same game we were just talking about against Washington, you like him at 25. The experts, for some reason, like him all the way up at 17.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, he's kind of shittily earned that until I see it, I really don't want to have to trust him. 34%, and then he did get that nice bump into 48%, but still less than half of the snaps to A.J. Dillon, who's just an absolute slug, useless player. I can't stand A.J. Dillon. So until I see him earn over half the snaps, get a real workload for the first time, he hasn't topped 2, 9, and 9 PPR points these last 3 weeks. It just has not been good. And if he ever starts to practice in full and gets removed off the injury report and will start to get a real workload, okay. But it's just been really, really ugly for Aaron Jones, who continues to get outsnapped and outtouched by A.J. Dillon. And if that's happening, because A.J. Dillon's not a good back, something's not right with Aaron Jones. He's an older running back, too. These things tend to linger more for an older running back than a younger guy. So, I'm a bit worried about that. And then Ramondre Stevenson, this is a really tricky one because should he be the focal point of this offense? Should he be the focal point of not just the offense, but also the entire passing game because he's a good pass comp? Yes, absolutely. All of that is true. But this is a pass funnel defense. They give up a ton of points to quarterbacks, ton of points to wide receivers, and they're okay against running backs. 19th in terms of points allowed, so a little bit under the bottom half of the league. And so we have to assume rational coaching, and with the entire NFL, but especially the Patriots, assuming rational coaching is very difficult to do. We're seeing Ramondre Stevenson play right around 60% or so of the snaps and see about 50% of the carries because Zeke is now seeing 40% or more each and every week. The good news, we've seen Ramondre go up in target share in 3 straight weeks, or at least in 20, 21, and 15%. That's right in line with what we were seeing last year. If that's going to be the case, then he probably will look okay. But honestly, just eyeball test-wise, this does not look like Ramondre of last year. He's not breaking nearly as many tackles. His explosive run rate is cut in half and even more so than that. So this is not the guy that just was that talent with the usage. The usage has been worse. The player has looked worse. And I just think if the Patriots have any chance, they're going to throw the ball to Demario Douglas this weekend. So rational coaching, if it ends up coming through, then sure, Ramondre won't look like the lowest running back. But in his game so far, running back 40, running back 44, running back 7, good week, running back 15, okay week, and then last week, running back 37. Like, it just is, the track record is not there this year. It's been ugly.
Yeah, no doubt. Hail Mary, we actually talked about Devin Singletary at length earlier. We both contend you should roster this guy immediately if you can and you have the room. He's only 26% owned. Obviously, Dameon Pierce sucking and being injured also is a huge factor in that. And if you're desperate, you like Pierre Strong at 6% and maybe, just maybe, Keontae Ingram at 7%.
Yeah, Singletary, it's a tough matchup. The Bucs, again, the 6th worst matchup for running backs. But you can't find this type of volume. A potential starter this week that would be in line for 15 to 20 touches and moving forward maybe takes over the starting role. You got to take a stab at that if you can. He continues to look and outplay Dameon Pierce throughout the season. And yeah, Pierre Strong against that Arizona defense, we said 3rd most points allowed to backs. I love Kareem Hunt, but if they get a huge lead early, I can see them turning the keys over to Pierre Strong and letting him do mop-up duty. 10 carries for 41 yards, 1 catch for 41 yards, a nice 81-yard or 82-yard day there for Pierre Strong on 11 touches. It became a 3-headed mix there, and he looked really, really good. So if this game becomes the blowout that I think it will, I think Pierre Strong will look really, really solid. But if you miss on him and you're desperate for volume, under 10% owned, Keontae Ingram, that's more so if DeMarcado misses. I don't think Ingram's good. I don't think the matchup's good. I don't think you're going to get a lot out of it. But if you need like 10 carries at your running back position, he's probably going to get it to you under 10%. I have a league where I'm like starting Rico Dottle, for example, in my bye week. So in that case, yeah, I guess I might go to Keontae Ingram and hope for like 12 carries and see what he does.
All right. We do have a super chat waiting for us. So let's do that before we get into the wide receivers. We're making pretty good progress here. Wants to know, I got Goff and Purdy on bye. Do I start Levis or Carr?
I like Carr. I talked about him higher or lower here, Mary. I love the juice of Levis. I love the 26 points, 4 touchdowns. Everything's sexy. And I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued to see what he does and see firearms. But as we talked about the show out here, we really broke him down. It's either going to go swimmingly and then you have a guy the rest of the year, or he's going to fall flat on his face, throw 3 picks. The defense will swarm him. TJ Watt goes crazy. I'm a little bit nervous of him. Whereas Carr, 300 yards, 3 straight weeks, probably a 4th straight week coming. Just barely missed a long bomb to Chris Olave, and more so Chris Olave's fault last week. So could have had like a 25-point day. You probably wouldn't even been asking this question. And he's got a nice matchup. 5th most points allowed by Chicago to quarterback position. So I'm just going to lean the safety of Carr. Similar ceilings. Levis does have the higher ceiling, but to me, Carr is the much safer floor with a not too far off ceiling, in my opinion. Do you feel any differently, True?
No, I feel the same way. It's like you said, I'm intrigued by Levis, but I'm not going to throw him out there. He could do anything tonight, and it wouldn't shock me completely. And with Carr, you do have that stability. The check down to Kamara just seems to be money. So, yeah, I'd lean Carr today.
Yeah.
All right, higher for wide receivers. Amari Cooper going against the Cardinals. You like him at 21, 6 above the experts. And Gabe Davis, who we talked about earlier in one of those super chats, going at Cincinnati, you like him at 22, 7 above the experts.
Yeah, 25% and 24% target share for Amari Cooper with 50% catchable rate. I know that seems like, half his catch. It's actually pretty good when you're factoring PJ Walker there. And he's ultimately been a solid wide receiver over that span. And then a 38% target share. Sorry, 25, 24, 38 is what I meant to get to. Is this last week he really dominated the share. And he put up 15 points in 2 of those last 3 games. So top 24 wide receiver in 2 of those 3 games, but he's being ranked as a fringe top 30 guy. I just really like Cooper. The matchup is not too shabby here. I just think Cooper, even if it is going to PJ Walker here, is in a good spot. PJ Walker has shown the propensity to just go and turn the keys over and chuck it to him. 11th most points allowed to the wide receiver as well in this matchup. So a plus matchup, good spot for Cooper to keep rolling. And we talked about Gabe Davis, but it feels like any type of shootout game, primetime narrative, certainly in the playoffs, it just feels like Gabe Davis time. Season high, 12 targets, 9 catches last week. He racked up 87 yards, and the score was the wide receiver 10 there. And well over half his game, 5 out of those 8 games, or rather, 5 out of 8 games have been really, really solid so far. And I just was very encouraged by the fact that he was seeing a lot more of those layup targets that you might expect to go to a Dawson Knox over the middle of the field, make something happen after the catch type of plays for Gabe Davis that you don't typically see him get. He's been much better at home than the road, so that is a caution. It's a split, given that they are in Cincinnati this week. So it is a tread with caution situation, but the blow-up potential is just way too much, in my opinion, to pass up for Sunday Night Football. And on the lower side of that, I actually do have Gabe Davis. It's a natural transition here, Truth, so not to steal your thunder, but T. Higgins, I have a little bit lower than Gabe Davis on the opposite side of the ball. It's been a similar middle-of-the-road type of matchup, 18th in points allowed, but it's more so that we've seen Gabe Davis, again, 5 out of his 8 games have been solid. T. Higgins, we have 1 really good game on record, and that was in week 2. Since then, 3, 3, and then 9 points. Now, 9 points last week, we can't discredit that. He looked healthy as he's looked all year, and especially the fact that Burrow looked as healthy as he's looked. He was mobile in the pocket. He was extending his chuck it deep. It seems like a matter of time before T. Higgins and him just kind of explode and have that connection. And maybe that does happen against the Bills, who are now really injured in their secondary. They traded for Rasul Douglas, though. They have had a good secondary throughout the year. And Higgins has kind of worked his way into, I'll believe it when I see it, given that he was the wide receiver 3 in week 2, and he hasn't been outside. Last week with 9 points was the wide receiver 41. And so we really just have not seen it. He kind of goes more into that, I'll believe it when I see it. And I'd rather have Gabe Davis personally this week.
I agree with you. I'd rather have Gabe Davis. I really hope you're wrong about Higgins. You're making a lot of picks that are not favorable to my game this week, and I really need to win it.
Zay Flowers. My face on our recap this week when I'm wrong and your team goes completely bananas. T. Higgins really good. And that's the type of one that
not going to go.
I like the face. Like T. Higgins has 30, and you clip me saying I'm a little bit lower on him. Like that could absolutely happen. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, I mean, you'll hear about it if you're wrong, but I don't think my guys are going to go off. I grudgingly agree with you. I just hope you're wrong. Zay Flowers going against Seattle. You like him at wide receiver 27. The experts like him all the way up at 21.
Yeah, it just the average depth of target. It seemed like he was finally taking on this true wide receiver role where he was getting deep and 16.2 yards per target average depth, and then he sinks back down to an average depth of target to 5.3. Back-to-back weeks now with really just questionable usage. At the very least, yeah, he does have 4 more catches in 6 of 8 games. So you got that okay PPR floor going on, but it's just a weird role where they're just kind of drawing up these screens. And I like that he's so involved in the offense, but I wish that we were getting that role where he was for a couple of weeks there. It was finally, okay, we're using Zay Flowers as a true NFL wide receiver, and he can run a route he can get open at every layer of the field. He just has been largely underwhelming in half PPR. 9, 7, 10, 14, 10, and 4 points. Yeah. It's been okay, but people locking him into this top 21 ranking, he's only been above the 21 wide receiver twice out of his 8 games so far this year, and he's never topped out higher than 15 on the season in terms of wide receiver rankings. So it just, I don't know. I feel like he's getting a little bit aggressively ranked. I think the Seattle defense is also, it looks like a great on-paper matchup, but over the last 4 weeks, when they've had both their starting corners healthy, they've been really tough and locked down on wide receivers. Even Jamar Chase didn't top 12 points against them. So I think with them healthy, with this role just not being great for Zay Flowers, he's a little bit closer to a bench than a start for me.
All right, Hail Mary, you got Demario Douglas in all caps with 4 exclamation points after it. And then you got as a follow-up, you have Khalil Shakur, who's 4% owned.
Yeah, both these guys I mentioned on the waiver wire show, but just to reiterate, Douglas, 84% of the routes, 77% of the snaps, 22% target share, team high 7 looks this last weekend. And that was with Juju there. And now you lose Kendrick Bourne. Devastating for us Patriots fans. He was really cooking. Douglas then went up to 24% targets per route on the year. He's going to be the clear pass receiver 1, and he gets the best matchup, the most points allowed to wide receivers, especially schedule adjusted as well. The Commanders are getting dominated. They run man cover rate at one of the highest rates in the league, and they have really bad corners. A recipe for destruction there, and it's been happening all year. I think Douglas is in an absolute smash spot. And then Shakir, we mentioned team high, 92 yards last week. That move to 3 wide receiver sets with no Dawson Knox really, really helped him out and boosted him up with that 72% of the routes, 6 targets, 15% share, or six targets there, and 6 catches. He caught them all. So really, really solid 15.2%. And with the Bengals allowing the 3rd highest receiving percentage to wide receivers, I think Shakir could definitely be a toss in your lineup flex play.
All right, we're going to hustle through tight ends, which you have actually more tight ends than usual. Usually we got like 1 higher, 1 lower, but
I'll move quick. Yeah.
3 guys he's quicker on and then or higher on, and then we should have maybe close to half an hour for the mailbag. Maybe we get out of here by kickoff. Taysom Hill against Chicago. You like him at 6. The experts like him all the way down at 9. Also, Trey McBride, who I picked up and who we talked about earlier, going at Cleveland. You like him at 7. The experts like him at 10. And Cole Kmet at New Orleans. You like him at 9. The experts like him at 13. You're higher on all those guys.
Yeah, Kmet just had 10 targets, 10 catches. The same quarterback here, the product of Shepherd University over there. Loves peppering, loves dumping it down. Like that from Kmet. I think he should definitely be ranked higher by Badgett there, just peppering him. But Taysom Hill, I get a ton of questions on him. He's the number 2 tight end across his last 3 games, more than TJ Hawkinson, behind only Travis Kelce. Been a top 6 tight end for 3 straight weeks, seen 9 or more opportunities for 3 straight weeks, has had 13 or more PPR points in 3 straight weeks. The guy has been thriving. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground last week, and he's been getting more and more of the routes. Even with Juwan Johnson back last week, he still had 22.9 PPR points. Huge fan of Taysom Hill. Definitely a must-start tight end, in my opinion. And Trey McBride, the highest single target share a tight end has seen all year, 38.9%. And yeah, we were laughing about how, the Cardinals, 31% targets to tight ends. It's the 3rd highest in the league, but they can't all go to McBride, right? Well, he then goes and blows that out of the water and has 7% higher than that. 88% of the routes, elite. 83% of the snaps, a great rate. Again, that 14 targets was phenomenal. 46% of them were first read targets, so drawn up plays just for McBride. So deadly after the catch. You saw him plowing into the end zone with so many defenders around him. What a great touchdown that was. We've seen him hurdle people. This guy shouldered his college offense, and he's still killing it. So it's 25 points last week. The only reason to be a little lower is Cleveland is the single hardest matchup for tight ends. But to me, this is the focal point of the passing game, maybe even more so than Marquise Brown at this point. They're going to find ways to get Trey McBride the rock. I'm a huge fan of him.
All right, let's talk about lower. Dalton Schultz versus Tampa Bay. You like him 2 below the experts at 10. Also, Kyle Pitts, who you mentioned earlier, who for some reason is ranked at 7. You like him at 12.
Yeah, it's more so just how is Dalton Schultz above these 3 tight ends we just mentioned that have so much going for him? Again, Taysom Hill, the number 2 tight end across his last 3. Trey McBride, the single highest game we've seen from a tight end in terms of target share. And then Cole Kmet, a 10-target day with 10 catches. To me, Dalton Schultz is just the clear-cut, at best, 3rd option in this passing game. You got Tank Dell, Nico Collins, maybe even Noah Brown ahead of him. Yeah, he did have 12, 16, and 14 points. A really nice stretch run with 3 straight touchdowns, looking great. But then you had only 2 points against a soft Carolina team. Tampa Bay is a better team against the tight end. If they're going to do anything against Tampa Bay, I think it's going to come through the wide receivers where they've given up some big plays out wide. And I don't mind Dalton Schultz. He's my tight end 10, so certainly a startable guy in most lineups. But to me, there's no way he should be ahead of Taysom Hill, Trey McBride, and Cole Kmet. So I just want to shout at him out as a lower guy. And then Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's just too easy. I think people are like, those 12, his season high, 12 points, 12 and 12 back-to-back. And everybody was creaming themselves. Oh, he's here. He's finally made it.
Not everybody.
Count on Kyle Pitts. Since then, he's had tight end 16 and tight end 21 finishes. Before then, he had not had a single tight end 17 finish. before that. He's had 2 decent games on the year. Decent. 12 points.
I mean,
and other than that, he's been atrocious. So
that's
maybe
about
Taylor
what
Heineke. Yeah.
We said he'll have 2 or 3 okay games.
He's got him out of his system. He's going to be bad the rest of the year. Maybe Taylor Heineke gets this thing going. And sure, if Drake London's ruled out, there's reason to think maybe Kyle Pitts goes up. But truth is, there's a play last week they ran where they had Jonnu Smith throw to their 3rd-string tight end while Kyle Pitts was in pass protection. Like, if that's how you're going to use your first round, highest ever selected tight end, I want nothing to do with Arthur Smith. I think he's the absolute definition of an
You want to get all 3. You need all 3 tight ends involved on the play. But
you got to make sure the number one that you drafted, the highest that anybody's ever drafted a tight end, is the one pass protecting.
Who's not really who's also not really much of a blocker, at least.
No, yeah, it makes no sense to me. Yeah,
that's so stupid. But anyway, whatever. I'm gonna keep vilifying the guy until he proves me wrong, like for more than a game or 2.
Yeah.
Hail Marys, tight ends, Gerald Everett and Cade Otton, 24% owned and 4% owned, respectively.
Yeah, Everett's more so the matchup. No team has given up more points to tight ends than the Jets. It makes sense. They're so good against wide receivers that running backs and tight ends become the focal point of offenses against them. Gerald Everett, assuming he's healthy, will be that guy. And if he's not, then fire up Donald Parham, who's only 4% rostered, 6'8" monster, looked dangerous after the catch 2 last week. I almost hope Gerald Everett sits so we get more Parham. I love that guy. But if not, Gerald Everett should be in a great spot. And then Cade Otton, 5th most in route participation among tight ends right now. He had 6 targets in back-to-back weeks, 7 fantasy points in back-to-back weeks. I know, not lighting the world on fire when you got Mike Evans and Godwin around you, but Houston's first in terms of adjusted target rate, 2 tight ends, 8th most in terms of points allowed to the position. I really like Cade Otton as a desperation. If you got to fill something in there, not the worst to throw out there.
All right, let's go to the mailbag. Let's roll. Do we want to talk to Campanelli about anything first, or do we?
Campanelli, you had a question? Show yourself. But otherwise, let's play it. Thank you again for being here, Campanelli, helping us mod. He's showing his face, so we'll pull him in. What can we do for you tonight, good sir?
Quick question: with Goff on bye, would you rather start Daniel Jones or drop Jones to pick up Howell?
Oh, Howell, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
10 out of 10 times.
10 out of 10 times, too. I'm with Truth there. I'm surprised he's out there in your league. I'm not gonna lie. Like, definitely.
Well, he would never be out there in the Wolves league. It's too good.
Yeah. I'm not even saying that. You're in a 2 quarterback league, aren't you? Like, I can't believe Howell's in a 2 quarterback league on waivers.
Oh, I meant Heineke. Excuse me.
Oh,
that's different. That's different.
I wish it was Hal.
I might go Heineke then.
I would at least
Jones, I think.
I'd at least still give Heineke a strong look there.
You might give him a look. I'd go Daniel Jones there, though. I wouldn't shake up the roster right now. And just hope that this offense finds their footing with Saquon back. Maybe Andrew Thomas is back at left tackle. We'll see. I don't know if there's been any news on him yet, but
the Giants offense isn't going to find its footing. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
well,
probably not.
If the Giants offense finds its footing, I will jump into like the Antarctic Ocean ass naked.
All right. So if they have 28 or more points, Calvez following their footing, and David Campanelli is going to the Antarctic Ocean. We need that on tape.
I am seriously hoping it will happen at this point, and even so, I think the odds are quite slim.
Yeah, you're probably pretty good, Campanelli.
We could definitely turn that into
happen just so we get there.
Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
All right. Cheers. Great to see you, man.
All right. You want to do the banners, Wolf?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Right. Okay, what's up, fellas? Hey, Bulldog.
Great to see you, Bulldog, as always.
McBride or Kincaid, half PPR, or start them both and flex over to Mario Douglas?
I would definitely go Kincaid. Great spot. The most points allowed to tight end. Schedule adjusted. The Jets are the most in terms of paper, but schedule adjusted, the Bengals are even worse. I would start Douglas versus McBride is tricky in the flex. I would definitely go Kincaid. I think I go Douglas over McBride if I had to pick one. And we did have Campanelli just telling us, let's go get those W's. Hell yeah, Campanelli. Love to see it for sure.
All right, Lucio says half point PPR. I need one running back in a flex. McLaurin, Stevenson, Jay Cook.
I would go Cook and McLaurin. I'm lower on Stevenson. I know the argument that he's going to be the focal point and see a ton of volume. And maybe that holds true, but I don't trust this coaching staff to do anything the rational way right now. So I'd go Cook and McLaurin myself.
Agreed. Tomas Medina, Lobo.
What's up?
Pick one. PPR. Warren, Tyjae Spears, or just those two, Warren or Spears.
I don't like either, honestly. So they're facing each other tonight. You got to get one in there. I guess Spears breaking a long one.
Yeah, I guess PPR. I probably lean Spears too, but I don't like either of them at all.
Yeah. And Wolfpack, please do. We had about 34 earlier, down about 29, 30. Get some more in here with that thumbs up, a free, easy way. If you need to cut the line, super chat will let us, we'll jump right to you. If you're in a crunch here, you need to get your people an in-depth answer. Hit us with that super chat, but a free way to support your boys. If you appreciate the content we're putting out, and we love all of you, it would mean the world to just hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new here, please do consider subscribing so we can continue to grow that pack as we climb towards 4K.
All right, our guy Kronishaw, if tradition holds, he's going to hit us with a few here, but the first one's going to be about food, which I love. Hey guys, I've been noticing people eating deep dish pizza with a fork and knife. Personally, I use my hands. What say you guys? Yeah, man, hands.
It's pizza. You got to use your hands. Yeah, fork and knife, you're a tool.
Right. It's right. Seriously, like there's some places you might not walk out of there if you do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I hate
hands
that.
all the way for pizza. Also, although I enjoy a good deep dish, I consider the New York pizza to be far superior.
I do too, and I love deep dish for what it is, but I don't even like.
Yeah, but I don't even really consider it pizza. It's like it's different.
Wow.
It's like a stew or something.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Chrono also says I need a QB this week. My options are Levis, Mayfield, Minshew, Heineke, and Love. Why don't you start with that? Then I'll read you the rest of the question.
I think I go Minshew over all these options, but Levis has the most upside tonight. But I like Minshew of all these options myself.
Agree with that assessment. Also, flex one PPR. Diontae, Boyd, Douglas, Dell, Njoku, McBride, Shaheed, and Dotson. Wow, it's like 8 guys.
Diontae, yeah. I mean, especially in a full PPR league, Diontae with those 14 targets last week. Right back into Diontae doing Diontae things. I'm all in on Diontae.
Flex one PPR. Elliott, Rice, Freeman, Hunter Henry.
Ew. Rice.
Yeah,
I think
probably.
Rice. Yeah. I go Rashee Rice in a game where it's going to hopefully be back and forth shootout style game. I'll go Rashee Rice.
All right, and then he says flex one PPR, Gabe Davis, Downs, Hunt, or Cooks, JSN. I think we both like Davis here.
I like Davis. I really like Kareem Hunt, actually. I mean,
oh, wow, okay.
Maybe. It comes down to Hunter Davis for me. I feel like Hunt just has that safer floor to get you a nice 15 regardless. Right. Josh Downs has been really high floor.
I know. I thought you might lean Downs, but I guess not.
In a PPR league, it comes down to Downs or Hunt for me. Even though Gabe Davis does have the highest ceiling here, there's no doubt about that. The safety of a Hunt or Downs, I think I actually might go Downs there, especially if you can stack up him and Minshew if that's what you're doing.
And then he says, finally, I have Damian Pierce, but not sure if he's playing this weekend. Options I only have are Singletary, DeMarcado, Jay Hill, and then in the next text he says, or Foreman.
Yeah, I go Singletary there. Just whatever Texans running back is starting.
But would you go Singletary over Diontae Foreman?
Yeah, because it's a 3-headed nightmare. I was a big Foreman guy, and then they kept Darrington Evans going. Roshan got mixed in, and it's a bad matchup with the Saints. I'm out on Foreman. I love Foreman before, but the fact that they made it a 2-headed nightmare, no, thank you.
Okay. All right. Next up, David Campanelli says, Kronishaw using utensils to eat pizza is a crime, no matter the style. I think the Wolf and I basically agree with that.
Exactly what we said too. So we're locked up there.
Y2J29, how are you fellas feeling about starting the Steelers defense? Well, the Wolf is starting the Steelers defense, although he may be getting some cold feet. So what are you going to do?
And I'm really nervous. I'm extremely nervous. It could go very well. They could get a pick 6 and feel good. Totally. So I'm letting it ride. Y2J. It's a weird week for defenses. You got the Bills against Cincy. You got the Chiefs against Miami. You got the Cowboys facing the Eagles and vice versa. A lot of your top defenses that are kind of set and forget, the 49, a lot of them are on bye, or a lot of them are in bad matchups. So it is just a kind of dart throw week. And to be the Steelers at home against a rookie quarterback that, sure, he looked great, but has been turnover prone in the past, I'm just going to fire him up. I think I'm sticking with him. I'm going to kind of scan and see if I have anything better, but I don't think I do.
So I just want to say also, before we move on to the next one, I'm watching the Thursday Night Football pregame on my iPad next to the screen here. They just put up a DraftKings, a couple bets, and they have Will Levis minus under 1.5 touchdown passes at minus 238. Doesn't that seem like Like,
So,
I mean,
so
you know,
him throwing 2 touchdowns is plus money?
yeah, like over double plus money, unless I'm reading it wrong.
I would probably go after that.
Doesn't that seem a little bit nuts?
I mean,
If
just threw
that's
4
true?
touchdowns.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He could throw half as many and still double your money.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, Toon says Douglas or Dotson rest of the season.
That's a tough one. I mean, you got Douglas likely the wide receiver 1 for the Pats. Dotson coming off his biggest blow up of the year. I side with talent and I side with Dotson on this, that maybe we're going to start to see him emerge, especially with that defense weakened up. They might need more shootouts. So I'm going to go Dotson, but they're very, very close for me, Toons. Do you have a different leaning, Truth?
Yeah, I'd lean Douglas.
All right. Fair enough.
Moreno, should I play Diontae tonight or stick with Puka, even with the unknown quarterback situation and now with his swollen knee?
Oh, man, that's a really good question, Robert. Like, Diontae is certainly safer. There's no doubt about that. I own Puka, and I'll myself, even if it means I have to eat a bad week, like, I'll never bench the guy. I know how stupid that sounds.
No, I hear you.
He's earned his spot. He's earned his keep for me. He's earned his stripes, and I'm not going to bench him. Deontay's in a great spot tonight, though. Tennessee, 8th most points to wide receivers. Like, he's a great matchup. If you want to play it safe, go Diontae. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand, by the way, not benching the guy that's done it for you all year. I get it.
That's kind of, it's so stupid, but you know.
It is stupid. It's dumb as hell, and yet I've done it a bunch of times. Toons, we talked a little bit about defense earlier. He says, so I pick up the Steelers defense tonight, or do I take Atlanta versus the Vikings or Patriots against Commanders? So basically, who do you like best, Steelers tonight, Atlanta, or
I'm
the
going
Patriots?
Steelers. I had the option of Atlanta, and I chose to go Steelers myself. I'm starting to sweat it and second guess it, but I'm just going to let it rip. What about you, Truth? Who do you like out of these 3?
I went Patriots, and I'm sticking with the Patriots.
All righty, here we go.
Justin Mars, he says, start 2. This is half PPR, Lockett, Hubbard, or Myers.
I would go. I mean, I like Lockett the most.
Me too.
Myers really worries me with Aiden O'Connell, especially coming off a dud anyways. Like, I'm going to go Lockett and Hubbard, I think.
I would probably go Lockett and Myers, but I understand completely why you would go Hubbard.
Hubbard got 71% of the rushes last week. I know he didn't do a ton with it. He got stuffed on the goal line 3 times. But it's not a horrible matchup for the guy.
That's the thing. It's like, do you ever watch Shark Tank?
Yeah.
So Cuban has that thing. He's like, oh, I'd rather have 10% of a watermelon than like 80% of a grape or whatever. And it's like, okay, so he got 71% of the rushes, but it's a grape. So yeah. I'm not that moved by that, but I hear what you're saying.
I get what you're saying. That's a fair comparison.
Oh, we got another super chat here from Omar.
Thank you so much, Omar.
All right. He says, yo, fellas, play Love or Levis as my QB2 behind Josh Allen this week. By the way, I did beat the shit out of my stepson to take first place. Good. We were waiting all week to see if you beat the shit out of your stepson. Good job.
That's all I needed to know. Like he was the redheaded stepson. He just like, fuck out of me. Oh, Mark, love you, man. I think I go Levis, especially since it's like a 2 QB and it's your super flex. Let it rip. Have some Thursday night football fun. The guy's coming off 4 touchdowns. I have him literally 15 Levis, 16 Love. Love is safer. We know more what he is. He's probably going to get you 16 points, but off of 26 points and a Pittsburgh defense that is vulnerable, I would go Levis, I think. What about you?
I would also go Levis. I am not in love with Jordan Love.
No, not at all. I'm not a fan of that player at all.
I'm not. I mean, we've said it's a gamble going with Levis, but when Love's the person you're trying to decide between, I'd roll the dice with Levis.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the support too. Really Omar consistently showing the boys love.
I think we're gonna go maybe 4 more minutes, and then I'm gonna let the Wolf go rapid fire. Brian Fitzpatrick says he has T-Law and bye. I have Levis tonight or Kyler possibly coming off the IR Sunday. I wouldn't count on that, by the way. I could hit the wire for Heineke, Minshew, or Carr also, but I have very few players I could drop. What do you think?
So, I mean, I like Minshew, honestly, the most of all these options. But if you have no one to drop and you'd rather just stick with Levis and see what the upside is tonight, they're in the same tier. You know, they're right. Similar players. So I'm okay with that for sure. But personally, I do have Minshew the highest.
Feel the same way. All right. Eric E. loves the beer drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. And then he says Freeman or Hubbard week 9.
Hubbard. More guaranteed workload there.
Aaron Cooley. Hey, Wolfpack. I love the show. Thank you. Standard League. What are you doing, Aaron? Standard League.
Ew.
Start Watson or Dell in the flex, or pick up Hubbard, Singletary, DeMario, or Brandon Cooks at the waiver wire. But I will have to drop Watson or Dell. I'm definitely going Dell over Watson.
Yeah, I think I go Dell here. I mean, Hubbard should be rostered again. 70% of the carries. I know it wasn't much last week. He looked really good his last time out before that, though. So I don't know. I kind of like Hubbard here. I just don't know who I'd want to drop out of Dell or Watson.
I'd want to
So
drop.
yeah,
Watson.
I think I just roll Dell and hope for that long bomb touchdown. But
yeah,
I do like Hubbard. Honestly, I think I like Hubbard the most, and I might drop Dell for him.
All right,
so that was Chillard. We already hit.
We actually talked about Chillard. Chillard was talking about Levis, and I mean, I don't know if you've gotten this vibe too. I've heard this from people, and also just the eye test. It seems like the team really loves him.
Yeah, they were fired up to play with him. He was fired up. He's rallying the boys. Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. I like it. I like stories like that. All right,
Me too.
Roman says full PPR. I need a flex. Najee, Pitts, London, or Musgrave.
I know. I think I go Najee. He seemed to be kind of taking that backfield back over. I believe it was at 65% of snaps last week. I got to double check that, but I don't like any of these options very much. London's questionable to play. I certainly don't want to go Musgrave. I would just go Najee. He's actually looked better than recent memory. I think he's actually looked pretty decent. So I'll go Najee there.
All right. 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. McLaurin, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Smith, Pittman, Olave, Gus Edwards, and Pollard.
We've come to that point with Pollard, huh? I mean, honestly, it might be 3 receivers here in terms of Smith, Pittman, and Olave. It's not. I think those 3 are clearly the best 3 receivers. So at least 2 of them out there. I would rank them Olave, Pittman. Then Devonta Smith versus Pollard. I mean, that's a tough Eagles run D, and Pollard's done nothing this year. Like, really nothing.
Oh, I'm aware.
I'd probably go Devonta Smith. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, so yes. I like Smith more than Olave, if I'm being honest. But no matter how you shake him, I probably am not starting Pollard.
Yeah.
That's pathetic.
I know. So yeah, those 3 receivers. Jose says he should have proofread his message. So let's see what we got here.
All right, Wolfman. Do I start Kincaid and put Kelsey at my flex? What? Or do I start
Kelsey and put Kincaid in your flex?
Right. Just out of respect. Or
that's probably why he had to proofread his text.
Do I start either Diontae Johnson, T. Higgins, Zay, or Nico? One of theirs are my wide receiver 2, and either one for my flex, or put Kincaid and Kelsey at my flex. All right. It seems like kind of a drunk text, but I understand.
I hope you're drunk, Jose. So yeah, I actually do like both of these tight ends, and my favorite receiver out of here, I think, is Diontae. So yeah, so I don't know, make of that what you will, but we can't give you a clear answer when you're giving us a fucking question like that.
All right, so Wolf, they just put up a clock on my iPad, 9 minutes till kickoff. So why don't you hit these things? Let's go.
Let's do it. Drop McBride for Pitts. I would rather have McBride than Pitts myself. Let's plant some trees. What up, Matt? Need PPR help? 2 of 4. Downs, Rice, Cooper, Stevenson. I'm going Downs and Cooper there. Matt B. Addison or Downs? Pat, I think I'm going Downs with the quarterback questions there for the Mafia, man. Howell or Stroud this week? I'm going Howell. Yeah, I think so. Good dialogue. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Chillard. Thank you so much for the support. Let's talk about that trade question a little bit. Lockett, James Cook, or Chuba at flex? I would go James Cook, I think. Lomi, quick question. Just trade away DJ Moore and Cam Akers for Debo and Chuba Hubbard. I think you definitely won that trade, especially with the Vikings looking like a garbage heap. So Cam Akers is pretty much nothing at this point. Deontay, Godwin, Hubbard need 1. I'm going to go Deontay, I think there, Patrick. London, Dell, Mike Thomas, pick 2. London might not play, so you got your 2 picked for you there, Daniel. If he plays, I do go London over Mike Thomas, though. The dude I'm playing this week had 2 QBs on bye, so I had Charlie Preble playing some good fantasy defense. I love it. I also have Josh Allen and Diggs. Awesome. RM. So that with Khalil Shakir, you stack that team and that looks good, but maybe that does push over to the Aaron Jones side a little bit more, in my opinion. I think the Commanders will get run on a little bit. Their D-line went from one of the best in the league to one of the worst now. Matt B. Mixon or Deontay Johnson? I go Mixon there. Jaden Lamb. He looked really good last week, passing the eyeball test and 18 fantasy points. Looks solid. And Cesar agrees with Mixon. Any reason to lean Diontae Johnson over Pickens? I think so. Target share, 12 targets was it last week? Only 1 for Pickens. I'm definitely. I know the injury worries with DJ. Like he does get banged up and leave games, but I like DJ over Pickens. I have him ranked higher. I go Howell over Will Levis, Juan Pena. Start 2 Hopkins, Myers, Addison, or Pittman. I would go Pittman and Hopkins there. JJK Eats. What's going on, Katie Jagir? Gross bye week Hopkins. Great to see you. Hubbard, Ford, Madison. I would go Hubbard and Ford there over Madison, Katie Jagir. Omar, Najee, Roshan, and Jahan need 1. I would go Najee of those options, Omar. Steelers D. I'm going Steelers D, yeah. And that's good to know. Cam Hayward's back, even better. I'm rolling him. Let's go. Need 3 for Fatty Mateo. Full PPR. Puka, Thielen, Garrett, DK, D-Hop. I would go. Hey, by the way, glad you didn't trade fucking D-Hop. He was on the Sunday show like, I'm going to cut D-Hop, yo. I'm sick of it. And we told him, wait it out, see if he hits the trade deadline. 3 touchdowns later, Fatty. Should have led this one off with, thanks for making me not cut D-Hop. You got to go Thielen. You got to go Garrett Wilson. And I do go Garrett. I go D-Hop over DK. I do bench Puka of those options, unfortunately. And I bench DK as well. Jaws. Jalen Hyatt has a 2 TD game this year. He has to jump in the penguin exhibit at the zoo.
It means Campanelli.
I hope so. Campanelli, get to the zoo, man.
I love that. That's a great compromise because there was part of me that was like, who's paying for this trip to the Antarctic? I don't know if RSJ can cover it. I don't know if Campanelli's thought it through, but we could get him to a zoo exhibit with penguins, sure.
I think so. And naked still in play too, as he promised. Nude at the zoo, probably arrested, but Jalen Hyatt, let's go.
Well worth it though. To see the Giants blow up.
Yeah, exactly. Nicola Lewin, Hopkins, Pickens, Downs, or Rice. We need 2. I'm going Hopkins and I'm going Downs there, Nicola. Nicola again. Henderson, Gus Bus, Mixon, Foreman, Walker. Need 3. So I'm going Ken Walker. I'm going Gus Bus. I'm going Joe Mixon there. And then we got for Juan Pena, Jalen Warren, Aaron Jones, T. Higgins, Atwell, Algier, or Jake Bobo in the flex. Oh, man. T. Higgins for me of those options. Spears, says Mike Clay. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Spears too. Virgil Kane from Manchester, England. Hey, what's up? Love to see it.
Hey, Virgil, you're either going to hate me or love me. I'm a huge Man City fan, which you're going to either love or hate if you're a Man U fan. But anyway, props for tuning in from England.
I have no idea what to make of this comment. I know we're in crunch time.
I still am interested.
I'm very intrigued, Virgil Kane. I don't know how you stumbled upon us or if you need any fantasy help.
Give us a subscribe, Virgil.
Yeah, come on back again, Virgil. That was a very intriguing comment that I wish I could dive into more. Please help me. Jin 23. We'll be happy to. DK, Diontae, Pittman, Terry, Devontae Smith. Yeah, I can see why you need help. This is all like similar tier guys, tough to sift through. I think Pittman and I really do like Diontae tonight, but Devontae in that shootout with the Cowboys potentially. This is a really tough one, Jin 23. I wish I could be a little bit clearer here. These are all same tier wide receivers. I wonder if I have my rankings pulled up because I think these guys are going to be almost all in a row. So let me read these to you, Jin 23. I have Devonta Smith 14. I have DK 15. I have Pittman 18. I have Terry 24. So he's not in consideration. And then I have Diontae. I thought I had him above all those guys. Where do I have Diontae? 23. So all these guys are within 5 spots of each other. Rankings wise, I do have Devonta and DK the highest, but I kind of want to adjust that and go Pittman over DK right now. So I'm going to go Devonta and DK, Jim. Would you trade my Gabe Davis, T. Higgins, Kittle, and Kyron for his JT and Chase? Yes, Giuseppe. Absolutely. Chase is the best player of the deal. Jonathan Taylor might be the second best player of the deal. So yes, I would absolutely smash that deal. So that wraps us up. That was everybody. So I guess we can pull in Virgil Kane one more time.
So Virgil Kane, basically, this is just kind of stream of consciousness. When I stayed in New York City, I had the misfortune of staying at the Jane Hotel in Greenwich Village. Apart from the bed bugs, it was a nice room. I should really be doing this in a British accent. But
yeah, start over, please.
He was unbearable. I had to open a window. I wasn't to know there was a giant flying cicada. I don't know. That might be like dipping into Australian a little bit.
Yeah.
Sleeping under my bed. Anywho, as I slipped into the arms of Morpheus, this beast gripped me and flew out the window with me. Unfortunately, the giant critter couldn't support my 40-stone weight, and I fell on the pavement. Thank the Lord I was. And then he cuts off.
We're all in suspense. Give
us the end of the story maybe next week.
I have no idea what the hell that is.
But anyway, thanks for tuning in from Manchester.
I love it. I need to deep dive into that later. Maybe
we'll
take
unpack
some
that later.
look at that because that is.
We got kick off in 2 minutes.
Alrighty, start Levis. Carr is on waivers, not much more. I'd rather have Derek Carr. I feel good about him. Most passing yards across his last 3 weeks in the league. Barely missed a 2-touchdown day last week. I would go with him. And Mr. Trace Saracinko just pointing up. Great to see you, Mr. Trace. Awesome to see you. I think that's everybody. So
that's it.
Wolfpack, rankings are on roseryjournal.com. All our content on your way out, that thumbs up would be the world. Virgil repeated the same comment. I have no idea what's happening there. But thank you again so much for being here, Wolfpack. Best of luck. I hope you get everything you need. Tonight, we'll be live again. I actually don't know what we're going to do Sunday morning because that's such a good freaking game. And I am a football fan. I love you guys. I also really want to watch a really good football game. So we're going to have to figure that out. Maybe I'll go live at like 8 a.m. and do coffee and talk to you guys or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll tweet about it so you guys know when the schedule is. We'll put it on Instagram.
You want to know something? You want to know something that's better than coffee? And I'm not going to say cocaine. It's energy drinks from Dunkin' Donuts. Energy punches with Rockstar energy drink in them. Dude, I got so much done today on one of those. You would not believe it.
Good to know.
If I do a morning show with you guys, I'm going to pound one of those things, and I will be on my game.
I love it. I love it. Andres, why do you sigh? What's your sigh for? We're here for you. Flexing from Omar. Love to see it. Giuseppe, better Indy defense or New England? And then fentanyl is the last comment we get from Virgil. Virgil Kane is like, I don't know what the hell is happening.
He's a legend. Subscribe, Virgil.
Virgil, we need more of you. I want to know how that whole thing. Thank God I was fentanyl. Is that the cap off here? I would go New England D there. And should I drop Gino, have Fields and Carr? Giuseppe, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. I can't make sense of that. But I like Derek Carr out of all those quarterbacks. All right, Wolfpack, best of luck. See you guys on Sunday at some time. I'll let you know when.